Everybody. It's me, Sam, owner and lead craftsman at HHG Drums. I haven't done one of these for a while, so I figured I'd jump on and do a little bit of a live stream. Today I have a couple of drum shells that all need the interiors oiled. They're otherwise completely done. And I thought maybe I could just hang out, chat with you guys while I rub some oil on these beautiful shells. Uh, First one I'm going to start with here is this really beautiful 14 by 7 contoured stave Paduke snare drum. This one is going to, I think, Earl Teak Music in Delmar, Maryland. And we've been sending a lot of drums down to their shop. It's a really cool music shop down there. They have a pretty cool selection of our drums in stock. Well, to be fair, I think most of them sell within a couple of days of showing up. So we're always a little behind the eight ball in getting them some new product. But let's get started with some of this oil. Okay. I got my super secret mixture of oil in here. Used rag. It's kind of dangerous. Don't leave your used oil rags sitting around. It's bad news. And every time before I start oiling a drum, there's a couple of components that go into this. I like to just mix up just a little bit. It's kind of like a living ratio, right? I never measure this. A little bit of used motor oil, automatic transmission fluid. I'm fucking with it. It's not really. And there we go. I think it's pretty important to oil the inside of stadium drum shells, especially once they've been finished with like a high gloss lacquer on the outside, because wood being a natural material, it's capable of losing and gaining moisture, throughout the year. You need to kind of ensure that the entire shell loses and gains that moisture at the same rate, especially with a stave drum shell. It's really not that important for plywood drum shell. It's even less important for segmented and steam bent. But stave shells, because of their construction, vertical grain, and the way wood expands and contracts, it's very possible for the way wood expands and contracts is it expands and contracts across the grain. You think of a piece of wood as like a bundle of straws in this direction. As they get moisture in them, they get bigger like this. And so a stave drum shell can shrink its diameter or gain in diameter if it loses or gains a bunch of moisture. So there's more than you ever wanted to know about moisture and wood. The bearing edges on these are just so thirsty. They just drink this shit up. It immediately brings out that really gorgeous color. Hadouk is I think it's like a southern African, and like South and West African species. Somebody could check me on that. Might be. I think it's an African species. It's always difficult with these exotics to remember what South American. A lot of the really cool exotic species come from those two places. Kevin, what's up, bro? Yes, this is blinker fluid pasteurized Gatorade. Absolutely. A little bit of I do like to add just a little bit of Listerine occasionally, just for that minty smell. I like that a lot. For anybody new to our long-running inside joke, I like to. I've seen over the years of woodworking and drum building, I've seen so many people professing so much love for so many different finishes for wood, and they're all esoteric and silly. I like to make videos and just lie about what I'm putting on these. That's fun. Yeah, the Duke's really beautiful. This one's got a high gloss lacquer already on the exterior, and it's got some nice oil inside. What I find is if you oil the inside, especially the edges, because wood gains and loses moisture more quickly through the end grain. Again, going back to like the straw analogy, you picture wood as a bunch of bundled up drinking straws, which kind of is on the microscopic level. That moisture is going to go into the end of the straw faster than anywhere. So if you put a whole bunch of lacquer on the outside of a piece of wood, and then you leave the other three surfaces of that wood completely untreated, you're going to get differences in the way that wood expands and contracts, loses and gains moisture. And the idea with oil on the inside of a shell or any furniture project or anything is just to actually slow down that rate. You're never going to stop the expansion, contraction, loss and gain of moisture in a piece of wood. What you can do is you can try to make it less drastic. That's really the only goal here. Is throughout the year, this thing is going to gain some moisture, lose some moisture, but in the spring, when the moisture content in the air is really high, especially in southern latitudes and east coast of the United States, it can be pretty drastic. You can get a lot of moisture in the air, and it'll lose and gain a lot of moisture. You just want to slow it down. So it's going to do that. It's going to lose some moisture. It's going to gain some moisture, but it's not going to do it drastically. All right, first shell, Dunzo. Looks a little ugly right now. It's kind of just wet, greasy, but this blend that I use does. It absorbs for a couple of minutes. And all right, here, hold on. Let me tell you about this. Still not really sure what to call this type of shell, but it's got some ridiculous contouring, shaping to the outside. This one happens to be a very thick Douglas fir shell. I love the repeating grain pattern on the end grain of the staves on this because it shows I was paying attention. You see a stave drum shell and the grain pattern at the end grain is irregular, let's say. That means when somebody, whoever built that drum, built that shell, they didn't really give a fuck about, the orientation of the individual staves. I do. I give lots of fucks about that. Again, going back to the expansion contraction thing. If you want to, you'll see this a lot in more traditional woodworking, the way people glue up panels, or the way people do timber frame buildings, or a lot of different applications for the way that you orient the annual ring of a piece of wood in every building. But with a little bit of thoughtfulness in that department, you can get things to, once again, expand and contract in a predictable and even way. That's why those are arranged. So this shell is a 14 by 7. Like I said, it's fir. It's a very soft wood species. Ifers species. It's a pine tree for all you non-wood nerds out there. Means it has needles, conifer. And typically Douglas fir is something that's used in like construction a lot. It's a pretty stable wood species. It's very light. It's very soft. Not something that a lot of people do. But it's one of my favorite things about stave construction. Brent McGuire, what's up, man? Montreal, Quebec. Grumpy Kitten, what's up, my brother? Good to see you. Um, yeah, it's a really soft wood species. But one of my favorite things about making stave drum shells is you can use these soft species that would otherwise be precluded from musical instrument building because of the construction technique, because it's a stage shell and it's built like a wine barrel. You can offset the softer material by making a thicker shell. That's what you see here. The shell's very thick. I think it's like inch and an eighth, which is pretty hefty. But it weighs about as much as this shell, which is half inch thick. Can you put band logos or artist signatures if we throw a custom order your way? Brady call, we can absolutely do that. Thank you, Grumpy. I do have some sick drums in the work. Me and Kevin we're busy as shit, man. And Kevin, if you're still here, I got 5 drums ready for you to assemble over on the Kevin side of the shop. I just need to put them on the official to-do list, pending me going to grab some hardware. As some of you may or may not remember, we did have a fire at our new shop, which we are still not moved into, which means we have this shop, we have the new shop, which is under construction, and we have a very unfortunate storage unit. that we're currently using to store a lot of our hardware. It makes things interesting to say the least around here because we'll get, I'll finish building a drum and then Kevin's ready to put it together and it's like, oh, okay, shit, we don't have any of that hardware. We got to go to the storage unit. And I genuinely, I'm sure Kevin echoes this sentiment, cannot wait for the day in which all of this shit is under. We're not too far away from it. Call 1-800-SAM-ROCKS to get your drum ordered today. Exactly what I'm saying. I still have my cell phone number on all of the places, so like if you want to order a drum, just call me. You can just call me on the phone. 814-657-0836 to all you internet people. Is that risky giving your cell phone number out? Yes, maybe. Am I doing it? Yes. Don't really have the cash flow to be rocking a separate business hotline. The day we move inventory to the new shop cannot come fast enough. Yeah, well, I couldn't fucking agree with you more, Kevin. Oh, I cannot wait to have my main things that I'm excited about. Kevin already knows this. God damn it. So, I also fix power lines for a living. That's my 1-800 come fix your electricity work cell phone. Yeah, no, that's true, Grumpy. They do. I feel like there's no such thing as privacy anymore. As long as you got two-factor authentication on everything, it's going to be pretty difficult for them to fuck your shit up. Looking good. Let me put you on the inside view. Baby girl. Look at that. Love it. Smells good. Love it. Fantastical. All right. Moving right along. Those two are both for people, for customers already ordered, not available. I mean, of course, we can make it up time, but we've got a couple here. We have three here that actually aren't for anybody. So for anybody watching that's looking for a new snare drum, let me show you some stuff. This one, pretty wild. This is a 14 by 7 segmented shell, and it's got a couple of different wood species going on here. Center is leopard wood, followed by maple, then wenge, then padauk, then Mozambique, then birch. So, what was that, like 6 species? I was building a bunch of segmented drums, and the way I do that is I make a bunch of rings first. Then after the rings are made, stack them all together, boom, you got a shell. And in the process of making all those other segmented shells that were orders for people, I ended up with a bunch of random extra rings. So I took those random extra ones, made a couple extra ones, and this shell was the result. This one's available. It's 14 by 7, like I said, half-inch thick, segmented, 6 different species, 4 of those being some pretty high-end exotics. It's already drilled for hardware. We're doing our standard setup on this with the center-mounted HHG signature single-point lug. And if anybody's interested in this one, though it's already drilled for hardware, we can, of course, let you choose the hardware color. So we have gold, black nickel, chrome, and I think that oil rub bronze is not available on this one just because I drilled this it's drilled for 8 lug setup, which is my preference. I think 8 lug snare drum for shit. I kind of stole that from Ron Dunnett. I got a lot of respect for that dude. He has a lot of strong opinions, and I think he's correct in almost all of them. But anyways, it's drilled for 8 lugs, which means you can't do oil rub bronze on this one because we don't carry 14-inch 8 lug oil rub bronze hoops. We don't think they exist. But chrome, gold, black nickel. I always have a preference for chrome. That's kind of my. I feel like it's like painting your interior walls white. It just fucking goes with everything, blends in with everything. Always looks classy, especially when the shell is this busy, if you will. If there's this much visual intrigue, I feel like a color, like like a black nickel or a gold hardware, it's just too much. Why do you guys like 8 lug versus 10 lug snares? I thought more lugs made tuning easy. So this is something that most of my opinions are, once again, stolen initially from hearing Ron Dunnett talk about this, and then thinking about it critically, and then kind of adopting those opinions as my own. And here's the thoughts on this. So Does 10 lugs make tuning easier? Technically, yes, because you have 10 lugs, right? And you're going to need to turn each lug less to like because this force of tensioning the head is split up, um, divided by 10. You don't need to put as much tension on each tension rod to tune, right? So yeah, you have to turn the key less hard to get the same amount of tensioning. Yes, because the overall tension on the drum head is divided by 10 rather than divided by 8. So that being said, I think most people are strong enough to turn a drum key. It's not a problem. But here's my argument for 8 lugs. This is why I like 8 lugs. The main reason being because there's less lugs. That means that at the same tuning, you have it. Let's say you have a 10 lug snare drum and an 8 lug snare drum, and they're both set up at the same tension. There's more tension on each lug on an 8 lug snare drum than there is on a 10 lug snare. And you might say, oh, more tension on each lug. That's not good. It is good. And the reason it's good is because each lug has a little more tension on it. It's going to be more likely to stay in tune. So I fell into the, I think that I think it's mostly marketing that the 10 lug snare drum. At some point in time, they're like, let's put 10 lugs on a snare drum and then we can pretend like our shit's better than other people. When I say they, I mean, big drum conglomerates as they exist today. Uh, and it's just not necessary. The 8 lugs, you can get all of the same sounds, but the benefit to 8 lug versus 10 lug is because they're at the same tension, there's a little more, at the same overall tension on the heads, there's more tension per lug. That's going to make uh, every individual lug more apt to stay in tune and not detune through playing and vibration. And I've found that to be true after testing hundreds and hundreds of snare drums that we've built. So that's my take on 8 lugs. And there's some tangential tertiary benefits there too. The less shit attached to the shell. There's 2 less lugs. There's less crap attached to the drum shell, which I think does actually have a very subtle benefit to allowing the drum shell to vibrate and kind of contribute to the note of the drum overall, and just less heavy, right? Also, the more lugs, the harder it is to pitch match each one. That too. So yeah, my hot take on 10 lug versus 8 lug snare drum. I think that 10 lug snare drums are mostly a marketing tactic. I think probably started by Ludwig or something. I don't know. I mean, I love Ludwig drums. No hate there, but I think at some point in time somebody was like, "Hey, let's put 10 lugs on our snare drum," and it's that old like you can't make it big, make it red like marketing technique where it's just more is better was I think their marketing ploy. More lugs, better. And I fell prey to this for many years. Like uh, for many years I was like 8 lug snare drums. Those are for beginners. Those are that's not a professional snare drum. There's not 10 lugs on it. And then I was playing like my old '60s Acrolite that I had, and it sounded fantastic, and it had 8 lugs, and I was like, have I thought about this, or did I actually just fall deep, into the marketing that big drum was perpetuating? Sorry, I didn't mean to get into some fucking diatribe about that. There you go. That's my thoughts. 8 lug, 10 lug. I think they're both great. I think they're both fine. I prefer to build 8 lug drums. I think they look better. I think they sound better. Less shit attached to the shell. They hold their tuning better. Okay. Oh, I didn't even. Sorry, I was so lost in my diarrhea of the mouth about 8 lug versus 10 lug. Are all your wood drums stave, or do you do plies also? I certainly do plies, and that's actually what this is. This is a 14 by 3 handmade. I made this plywood shell all by myself. Made my own molds. It's very fun to do. This one on the outside, it's kind of hard to see, but it's a really nice maple burl with a green high gloss lacquer. And then the shell is a kind of a mixture. There's maple burl exterior ply, then poplar, tulip wood if you want to fancy it up, maple, mahogany, and then cedar on the interior. This one's exciting because we recently commissioned our own piccolo lugs to get made, and I think this will be the very first shell that's going to get an HHG signature piccolo lug. So this one's available, like I said, 14 by 3, maple, poplar, mahogany, maple burl exterior, 14 by 3 piccolo. If anybody needs this, just let me know. I'm happy to sell it. Okay. Next up on the list, another beautiful snare drum for my good friends down at Earl T Music. 14 by 7 aromatic cedar. We've built a lot of these, and for good reason. It's a great sounding snare drum. It always looks so goddamn pretty. What I love about aromatic cedar is it's one of those woods where you don't think of it as like an exotic wood. It's like what they put in blanket chests. That's immediately where most people's minds go to when you think of aromatic cedar. And that's really been its kind of primary use. It's kind of like interior. It has The reason it's called aromatic is because it has a lot of oil in it. It has a lot of oil in it that's actually antimicrobial and antifungal. That's why it smells so goddamn good. But it's also really beautiful. But a lot of people they think kind of gets glossed over how pretty it can be. I don't think it often gets used as kind of like a showcase wood, but it's actually technically a juniper species, not a cedar species. Some more wood nerd bullshit for you. It's a juniper species, and it looks so pretty. And it's not a terribly expensive wood species, but it's just like the grain in it is if you finish it correctly, the grain in it can just be absolutely gorgeous. And like I said, this one's going down to Maryland, Delmar, Maryland. It'll be available for sale. My good friends down there at Little T. They put in a pretty big order a couple months ago for a couple of snare drums and slowly banging them out, had them down there, and I think they said I think they've gotten 4 or 5 snare drums, and they're all gone within a couple of days. So we're going to be looking forward to getting these. Hopefully, we get them down there sometime before Black Friday. Shopping thing. I absolutely love putting this oil on the cedar. It just smells so good. The oil kind of immediately brings out the smell. I wish we had smell-o-vision available on this app. Thoughts about a HHG Black Beauty replica? Yeah, that's totally possible. We could totally do that. So I had a Black Beauty for a long time. Didn't love it. Sold it. I think it was because it had that P86 Millennium strainer on there, which uh, I could never get to function very well. And I kept having issues with there's like a little bunch of set screws in it that just kept falling apart. But yeah, man, I'd be happy to build you one, Grumpy, if you're interested. That You really can't beat that look. That like the black nickel over brass looks fantastic. The question is, what are you doing on the hardware for that? Because the one that I used to own, I think it was a 10 lug, 14 by 6.5, black nickel shell, all gold hardware. Looked beautiful. Sounded great too. I just I couldn't. I just remember being at gigs and like the strainer just falling the fuck apart, and I was like, paid a lot of money for this drum. What the fuck? And I'm sure that they fixed that. This is another. Can I show you guys this? Another favorite detail here. So, see this little pocket right here? That pocket, you'll excuse me, that pocket is for our internal tone control mechanism. This thing. Oh, don't drop it. This here thing. So this is the knob that you twist to turn the internal tone control mechanism in and out, or tension it and detension it. And on these contour drums, it's very difficult to get this thing to sit flat on the shell because, as you can see, the shell has all kinds of curves and whatnot to it. And you need this to sit perpendicular to the exterior surface of the shell so it's not all wonky. And so now we install this beautiful little pocket that knob just sits right in there. My favorite thing. It's my favorite. It's the little things that get me stoked. Okay, moving on. We got one last shell to do. And then as soon as I finish oiling this last shell, I need to immediately get off this live stream because this oil needs to be buffed out. And I'm not trying to do that shit on the. Ooh, bronze? Yeah. Yeah, grumpy. The bronze. Bronze with black nickel. Woo! Okay. Last shell of the day. This one's also available. You guys, I'm sure anybody that's been around for a bit for this HHG drums experiment is aware of our recycled series shells. They're a shell that it's a stave shell, solid wood, that we make by repurposing all of the small scraps from all of the drums we build throughout the year. We save all the small scraps that aren't otherwise useful, glue them all together, make a shell. And the shells end up being kind of a snapshot of the previous 12 to 18 months of the company and everything that we built, because the pieces contained in the shell are little pieces of all the other snare drums that we built. This one, uh, this one's awesome because when we build these recycled shells, we'll just build as many as we have wood to build. And this year, well, a couple months ago, we built 13. And that's kind of like the 2022-2023 limited run of these. Um, and this one was my favorite one. This is my favorite shell of all of the shells we made. And we've sold a bunch of these already. And whenever somebody wants to buy one of these, how would I go about submitting my idea for a custom snare? You're getting my money soon. Brady, you can just shoot an email to info, info hhgdrums.com, or shoot us a DM on Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, TikTok, whatever. Or just text me, call me, 814-657-0836. But this shell, like I said, we built 13, and whenever we sold a bunch of these already, I think about half of them are gone. And whenever people want to buy one of these recycled shells, I have a file in my phone that's all of the drum shells, all 13 of them stacked up. Then as they sell, I put a little label on the photo, sold, so I can keep track of what I have and what's already sold. Everybody kept passing this one up, and I was like, is this not as beautiful to other people as it is to me? So in this most recent batch of all these drums that I was building, I was like, I'm gonna finish this. Nobody's ordered it, but I'm finishing it. So for the first time, I think this is the first first ever recycled series with a high gloss lacquer. I put a high gloss lacquer on it. God damn, am I glad I did. It's so pretty. But anyways, let's get some more on this. Yeah, I think there's 7 maybe after the 7 left in the recycled series 2022-2023 run, not including this one. This shell has some. Let's see if I can identify some of these in real time here. So, what's the 2 names? Oh, there's this wood species right here. I always forget. It's 2 different names. Well, let's start with some. So, curly maple. We got some red oak, some white oak, some mahogany, some Enge. This one has purple heart, leopard wood. Oh, and then this has like a significant amount of coco bolo in it, which is one of the most expensive. Oh, and then some Mexican cake. Shit, what the fuck? I'll think of it. Anyways, I think there's like somewhere between 8 to 10. I believe we just looked at a spreadsheet. We have 8 recycled. We got 8 left. I didn't even know we had a spreadsheet for that. It's inside baseball for the HHG drum company here. I I love me some spreadsheets. I keep spreadsheets for fucking everything because if you don't know what you got, you don't know what your inventory levels are. You don't know what you have for drum types. You're running a manufacturer. You gotta know. You gotta know. What do I have? What do I need? What needs real? It's really funny. I forget. I was talking to my friend Nate, who used to work here building drums with me. I was talking to him the other day about like when I started this, and I just had fucking random lugs in like old plastic, like clear peanut jars. I would just order like 100 lugs and be like, I don't know, I think and then when it started to kind of pop off and we started to get a little busy, it was like, I got to do something about this. And then my brother turned me on to Google Sheets, and I was like, oh, okay, well this is my favorite thing in the world. Pretty easy to use. I almost operate strictly on mobile all the time. Like I rarely sit down at a computer. So Google Sheets has become like de facto organization tool. Works so well. It's easy to edit on the cloud. I know this sounds like an ad for Google, but like I'm a big fan. It's a good product. It's free, completely free. Ooh, I don't know if I like the inside of this one or the outside. That's so fucking so. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell that one wood species is. I built a couple of shells out of it. Yeah, it's got like two names that you can kind of Shadua. Shadua. That's it. I don't think you can run any businesses without spreadsheets. Bales, what's up, brother man? Oh, the serial number spreadsheet. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's so we keep a running spreadsheet of every drum we build. I say we, I mean Kevin keeps a running spreadsheet of every drum we build, and the spreadsheet basically includes uh, every drum gets serialized. There's a serial number for every drum, and on the spreadsheet we keep track of its the date that it was built, what material it was made out of, and the serial. That way we can go back in time. And it's helpful for a lot of metrics. I literally just used it the other day to just try and figure out like total total drums sold in 2021 versus 2022. So curious. That's pretty fast and easy, man. Okay. I guess I can. I don't have to quite get off this. I do need to start. I can do that. I can do that on here with you guys. So after the oil goes on, what I do is I'm stacking these over here. I don't want to move the camera. I'm stacking them on this table in the order, moving clockwise around the table in which I have oiled them. Then I will go back in that same order and buff them, which is this little motion right here. I think I could probably patent this. Remember that episode of Seinfeld when they were like talking about who invented fucking twirl on the umbrellas? I think I invented this move. Rags, that's gross. But this blend that I use is it's pretty important to do this in a pretty timely fashion. And I don't like to work in batches bigger than about 5 shells, 6, because this oil it's a hardening type of oil. There's some additives to it that make it absorb and then start to congeal pretty quickly. So I want to buff off the excess pretty fast. I'll usually start with running around like that to get the edges, clamp her down with the old forearm, and get the inside. That looks pretty good. This is not if you get it in just if you do it in the right amount of time, if you buff this in the right window, it kind of spreads a really even sheen, like a very even film of this oil across the surface. You get a nice uniform kind of like matte satin sheen inside. How high the how high in the grits you sanded the interior and the edges. I could write another entire novel about sanding the insides of drum shells and edges because it's so important that you do that and that you do it to the right level of grits, and that you follow the right order, especially on statements here like this. The if you can't really you have a stave drum shell and you can't readily and clearly see the annual rings in the end grain edges, fuck, you're sanding up. You didn't do it right. The sanding end grain, the sanding long grain is, as Bales will attest, I'm sure, they're very different things. It can be the same wood species. End grain will sand so much harder. Think of an analogy that I can't think of one that will readily represent how much more difficult it is to sand end grain than it is to sand long grain. But it's needless to say, it's a lot. You could tell this Douglas fir was thirsty. It like that Paduke that I just got done running the oil out of. There was a lot more oil on the surface, and that directly corresponds to how dense the wood is and how much resins or oils are already in the wood. Paduke is a very oily wood species as it is, so it's already just naturally impregnated with a lot of its own oils and resins. So it doesn't really drink up as much of this oil product. But Douglas fir, cedar, they're though they do have their own resin content, it's not nearly as high as like a dense tropical hardwood like that would do. So when I just got that Douglas fir that I just finished up, it it was there was not a lot of oil remaining on the surface because it really drank in everything that I'd already applied. It's bad with a rub. Let's give her the rub. Yep. Yep. Gotta get these rags here, get these people out here. Just right. There's a method to this. There it is. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Like that shit. Like that. This is this is unrelated but related. Does anybody fuck with Tommy Igoe? I was a huge fan of a lot of his education materials back in the day, and he had a small detail that he talked about with drumstick grip. When he'd be playing single strokes, you could watch the stick in his hand slowly rotate in between his thumb and forefinger. It illustrated how lightly he was gripping the drumstick and how much space he was allowing it to breathe. Ooh, ooh. If I could make a drum set for any drummer in the world, who would it be? That's a tough question. I've got some like personal drumming heroes, like people that I just think are fucking fantastic drummers. What's the guy's name from Humphreys McGee? Chris something. The dude from Humphreys McGee, and I think his new band, it's something with cat, kill the cat or some shit. He's fucking. I would love to build him a kit. Adam Deitch from Lettuce, huge goddamn fan of Adam Deitch. And then like in the metal world, I am so in love with, I have been for a long time, Matt Halpern from Periphery. Just all of his playing is just fucking astonishing and just so goddamn good. Um, that's a short list, man. There's a lot of people I'd love to go get for. Will I ever? Probably not. Do I care? Absolutely not. So here's this one. Looking pretty good. Oh, you're going to see him in March? Grumpy, where are you going, man? There's a new album. Hmm. I did not know that, Kevin. Thank you. You know how very insulated from the world. All I do is build drums and fix power lines. I don't hit. I think I did just see a post about that the other day. I'm always excited for a new Lettuce album. They're so fucking good. It's a little challenging because this is such a tiny little shell. Can't really do the old Seinfeld umbrella spin on this. lot with the cards and everything. But this is again with the cedar. I'm a big fan. So when I make plywood shells, I like to use cedar on the inside because I think it's a nod to like old school woodworkers that would often line, high end blanket chests with cedar because it made their blankets smell good. So I think it's cool to kind of like little nod there. Let's use that. Let's use that cool traditional interior secondary wood species. In the world of furniture, it's often referred to as a secondary wood species. So, like, you might build a blanket chest out of cherry or maple, a more expensive hardwood, and then use a secondary species for all of the hidden parts of that piece of furniture, like drawers or inside of a blanket chest. All right, I think this one can get the old Bucky spin McGillicuddy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you guys for giving me the heads up on the Unity new lettuce. I'm gonna be checking that out fucking immediately. That might be the soundtrack to the rest of my day. Just listening to a Tim Ferriss podcast that was really super interesting. I was this close to just continuing to listen to that podcast and not come hang out with you guys, but boy, am I glad I came to hang out. Monos has got to be. Yeah, Crush is fucking good. What's that? Not Empire State, but Madison Square. Whew, that song. I've seen that song played live a couple of times, and it's like gives me chills, man. It's so good. All right, let me give you guys the corner shot. Ready? Boom. Look at that. Look at that shit. Yeah, I remember I was at a festival. I think it was the Lockin Festival down in Virginia, and I was pretty drunk, and Lettuce was playing. It was like late night, and that was like the song I wanted to hear. I had to piss real bad. Went to the porta potties. And I get in the porta potty, and I hear him start playing. I'm like, no! And I like pissed as fast as I could, and ran back out there. It was a very good song. All right, porno shot for the recycle. Look at that shit. Yep. I like this one because it just has one singular piece of purple heart in it. Just one. It's pretty cool. Ooh, there's some spalted sycamore. Add that to the list. Oh, fuck me, running, boys. I missed a spot here. See, even I make a mistake. As Kevin will attest, one of my favorite things is not how good you are at making things, it's how good you are at fixing mistakes. I think that really boils down to a lot of, I think it's broadly true about life in general. Let's give her the twirl. I drilled this one for tube lugs, actually. Which is not exactly one of my preferences. I think that tube lugs can be a little bit overdone, but got a lot of them in stock right now. And I was looking at the shell, and I'm like, that one would look pretty tasty with tube lugs. So that's what it All right. Well, ladies and germs, I do believe we have come to the end of this ride for the day. Thank you guys for stopping by and spending some time. I'm a big fan of the gloss on this one too. It's pretty tasty. I usually do like a satin lacquer on these, uh, but I happened to be spraying a bunch of gloss on a bunch of shells, and I was like, let's do a high gloss recycle. Why not? Let's live rich. The world deserves. Yeah, I gotta jump off this live stream, ladies and gents. So thank you so much for swinging by. I know I haven't done one of these in fucking ages. I really need to do more of them because they are very fun. They make the drudgery of this type of work way more fun because I get to talk to you, lovely people, and you have to listen to me talk about 8 lugs versus 10 lugs. So you're a captive audience. Yeah, thank you guys for coming by. It was a good time, and like I said, we got a couple of these will be for sale. This beautiful recycle, it'll be available. Segmented, gorgeous, ridiculous drum also will be for sale. And this one. If you're looking for a beautiful little piccolo for your life, 3.5 handmade plywood shell, cedar, poplar, maple burl, mahogany. Pretty tasty. Anyway, I'm gonna go peel the tape off of these and then hit these with some glass cleaner, get that exterior shining, and then they're ready for Kevin to assemble. Thank you guys for stopping by. I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to close this